Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel. Sorry about the time change. I know you guys are used to 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time or whatever the fuck it is nowadays. Anyway, so I do have a comment of the week for you, and actually, I'm gonna read a couple of the replies to the comment because I think they're pretty good. So, first of all, comment of the week goes to Selena Felicity White. Congratulations, and it is under hamming it up with Ken Ham. I found an English translation of the Korean study. Safety Investigations of Noah's Ark in a Seaway by S. W. Hong, S. Na, B.S. Hang on. Sorry about that. B.S. Hyun, S.Y. Hong, D.S. Gong, K.J. Kong, S.H. Se, K.H. Lee, and E.G.G. It's here. This article is from Journal of Creation 8-1, pages 26 through 36, April of 1994. Well, that's sus right off the bat, because it's from the Journal of Creation. Anyway, uh, that that was my thrown in comment, not hers. All right. Uh, then she goes on. Unfortunately, I would post a link, but YouTube will just delete it. I'll try reading it after I've had a bit to eat. I've not eaten since this morning. Okay. So Selena Felicity White, she goes on to say, I tried reading it, but I don't possess the qualifications necessary to understand it, so I gave up. However, I am reasonably confident that my criticism of the scale models was justified. The scale models used was just justified. Okay, so basically, from my understanding of the study, they did a bathtub type thing where they did a scale model and they said it was seaworthy, but you have to understand they were not using an arc. I pointed this out in my hemming it up with Ken Ham. Ken Ham seems to think that an arc is the same thing as a boat, and it's not. An arc is a fucking box. Okay. You'll have to show, this is the rest of her comment. You'll have to show the paper to a qualified engineer, preferably one in shipbuilding. Fair enough. Scapegoat Iscariot replies to her, it's safe to say that every variety of expert in the field of engineering, shipping, and many other aspects of science claim that the Ark of Noah is impossible. Studying it further and further demonstrates it. I agree there, Scapegoat. I totally agree. All right. Then Selena follows that up with Scapegoat Iscariot. Absolutely. I posted that information in response to her mentioning the study and that she could only find it in Korean and Russian, which I did. I was only able to find it in Korean and Russian. Selena, thank you very much for being able to find it in English. I wasn't saying this is her. I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth. This is her. I wasn't saying it was correct. I did add that even a layperson could spot an obvious flaw in the study, namely that you can't use scale models due to surface area only increasing by the square root and volume increasing by the cube root. There are many problems with the story of Noah's Ark. The dimensions of Noah's Ark's only the first one, I might add. Okay, back to hers. And the flood story. Here are just a few off the top of my head. Insufficient space for the number of species on Earth. Even if we go with AIG's number, and even their numbers would put the ark over capacity and require hyperevolution to occur afterwards. Thank you, Selena. A lot of us have been saying that for a very long time. Okay, back to her comments. Methane and carbon dioxide would poison all the animals and humans on the ark. Inability to store sufficient amounts of fresh water and food. Inability of species to continue afterwards due to having a few surviving members and no sign of genetic bottleneck event in practically every species. So, whether or not Noah's Ark was seaworthy is just one of the problems of the story. I will never understand this rather modern idea of taking mythological stories in the Old Testament as literally true. Biblical literalism is weird. And I agree wholeheartedly, Selena. I mean, um, I can't remember which episode it was, but hey, Crypta. Hey, Lisa. So, anyway, hey, Nevermore. So, anyway, yeah. So, yeah, the dimensions in those arcs, it isn't even the, um, it isn't even the most ridiculous part of that story. I don't know which. I think it was one of the John Pendleton debunks. Um, I said so about the cheetah, and the cheetah's endangered, and it has like 7,000 cheetahs in the wild, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it. But if 7,000 cheetahs in the wild is endangered, you really think of every kind of species is going to say is not going to like totally destroy the world? Come on, get with the program, people. Not to mention that the story of Noah's taken directly from the Epic of Gilgamesh and talking about Atrahasis. It it uh, it has some changes here and there, but you can definitely tell it's the Atrahasis story. I will try to make some toast, Crypta. Thank you very much. All right, getting on with the story. And like I said, I'm sorry about the time change. I'm cold. It's freezing in here, and I need to make the money I do have last, and so I can't really afford the heater being on in here. The computer doesn't take a whole lot of juice, but the heater does. Alrighty. Uh, First Kings 15. In the In the 18th year of the reign of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, Abijah king of, became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother's name was Maacah, daughter of Abishalom. He committed all the sins his father had done before him. His heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of his David his forefather had been. Nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamp in Jerusalem by raising up a son to succeed him and by making Jerusalem strong. For David had done what was right in the eyes of the Lord and had not failed to keep any of the Lord's commands all the days of his life, except in the case of Uriah the Hittite. Okay, so I got a question. Um, hey, Trusty. So, if David was such a righteous person, right? And he was like such a righteous person that God said, nobody's going to fail to sit on your throne, which, of course, he already broke. And I'm pretending that God is real, right? Because I don't believe that God is real. There were 8 righteous people, and he flooded the whole world. What the fuck is up with that nonsense? All right, moving on. I've just got the flood on my mind right now because Selena found that that um study in the Journal of Creation, which is obviously a non-biased source. That's the one I said I could find in Korean and Russian, but couldn't find in English. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. There was war between Abijah and Jeroboam throughout Abijah's lifetime. As for the other events of Abijah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? There was war between. Sorry, I meant to. I meant to mute before that happened, but I couldn't. Sorry about that. There was war between Abijah and Jeroboam throughout Abijah's lifetime. As for the other events of Abijah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Judah? There was war between Abijah and Jeroboam, and Abijah rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David, and Asa his son succeeded him as king. You know, I love how they say, as for the rest of the deeds, blah, 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 and yet they don't give us those. It's like, it'd be nice if you would give us those, you know? Which kind of makes you wonder if they even exist. Exactly, Nevermore. All right, moving on. In the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 41 years. His grandmother's name was Maacah, daughter of Abishalom. Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as his father David had done. He expelled the male shrine prostitutes from the land and got rid of all the idols his ancestors had made. He even deposed his grandmother Maacah from her position as queen mother because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. By the way, if you have not seen my I think there are 2 episodes on Asherah. Asherah is a Canaanite goddess. There's nothing wrong with a fucking Canaanite goddess being in a fucking Canaanite nation. Alright, so let's move on. Oh, sorry. Um, Asa cut it down and burned it in the Kidron Valley. Although he did not remove the high places, Asa's heart was fully committed to the Lord all his life. He brought into the temple of the Lord the silver and gold and the articles that he and his father had dedicated. Okay, so so for those of you who may not know what high places are outside of the city. So why would a king within the city tear down a high place that is without the city? Basically, a high place is like a an altar for one of the foreign gods. For like, okay, so say you've got maybe an Egyptian who's coming to Jerusalem for something, right? And they get to Jerusalem safe and sound. And hey, limited, and they would build a high place or an altar to whatever Egyptian god they worship as um, as a thank you for being able to get to Jerusalem safely. That's what a high place is. All right, moving on. Verse 16, there was war between Asa and Basha, king of Israel, throughout their reigns. Basha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and fortified Ramah to prevent anyone from leaving or entering the territory of Asa, king of Judah. Asa then took the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the Lord's temple and of his own palace. He entrusted it to his officials and sent them to Ben-Hadad, son of Tabrimon, the son of Hizon, king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus. Let there be a treaty between me and you, he said, as there was between my father and your father. See, I am sending a gift of silver and gold. Now break your treaty with Basha, king of Israel, so he will withdraw from me. Ben-Hadad agreed with King Asa and sent the commanders of his forces against the towns of Israel. He conquered Ijon, Dan, Abel, Beth, Maacah, and all Kinnereth, in addition to Naphtali. When Basha heard this, he stopped building Ramah and withdrew to Tirzah. Then King Asa issued an order to all Judah. No one was exempt, and they carried away from Ramah the stones and timber Basha had been using there. With them, King Asa built up Geba and Benjamin, and also Mizpah. I swear to God, This sounds like a soap opera, minus all the sex. I wish there was more sex in here, to be honest with you. It'd take my mind off of all of this foolishness. Verse 23. As for the other events of Asa's reign, all of his achievements, all he did and cities he built, are they not written in the book of the annals of the king of Judah? In his old age, however, his feet became diseased. Then Asa rested with his ancestors, and was buried with them in the city of his father David, and Jehoshaphat his son succeeded him. Nadab son of Jeroboam became king of Israel in the 2nd year of Asa king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did evil in the sight of the Lord, following the ways of his father and committing the same sins his father had caused Israel to commit. Might I just say, it sounds like God has a hair trigger temper. Just saying. It doesn't even say what the dude said, what the dude did. It just says, oh, he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Well, why don't you tell us what the dude did? I mean, seriously, did he not sacrifice a bull on the right day or something? I mean, come on. Yeah, limited. It did have something to do with volume. Alrighty. Sorry about that. I plan on heading back to bed after this. Number one, I'm cold and I need the covers. Number two, just 'cause I'm tired. My cats woke me up. Verse 27. Basha, son of Ahijah, from the tribe of Issachar, plotted against him, and he struck him down at Gibbethon, a Philistine town, while Nadab and all Israel were besieging it. Basha killed Nadab in the 3rd year of Asa king of Judah, and succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign, he killed Jeroboam's whole family. He did not leave Jeroboam anyone breathed, but destroyed them all, according to the word the Lord had given through his servant Ahijah the Shulamite. This happened because of the sins of the sins Jeroboam had committed and had caused Israel to commit, and because he aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel. As for the other events of Nadab's reign and all he did, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Israel? There was war between Asa and Basha, king of Israel, through their reigns. You know, I'd really like to know what kind of evil these people did in the sight of the Lord. I mean, did they pick their nose on the Sabbath day or something? I mean, Jesus. Okay. Chapter 16. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hanani, concerning Basha. I lifted you up from the dust and appointed you ruler of my people Israel. But you followed the ways of Jeroboam and caused my people Israel to sin and to arouse my anger by their sins. So I am about to wipe out Basha and his house, and I will make your house like that of Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Okay, what the fuck ever. Dogs will eat those belonging to Basha who die in the city, and birds will feed on those who die in the country. Oh, um, just in case you didn't know, at this place and time, um, dogs were a an insult. Okay, moving on. Excuse me. Moreover, the word of the Lord came. Okay, I already read that. Sorry. Verse 8. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, son of Basha, became king of Israel, and he reigned Tirzah 2 years. Zimri, one of his officials who had commanded half his chariots, plotted against him. Elah was in Tirzah at the time, getting drunk in the home of Arza, the palace administrator at Tirzah. Zimri came in, struck him down, and killed him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. Then he succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign and was seated on his throne, he killed off Baasha's whole family. He did not spare a single male, whether relative or friend. So Zimri destroyed the whole family of Baasha in accordance with the word the Lord had spoken against Basha through the prophet Jehu, because of all the sins Basha and his son Elah had committed and had caused Israel to commit, so that they aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Elah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the annals of the book of Israel? Will you please give us what they did, you fucking morons? It doesn't help us if you just tell us, are they not written in the annals of the acts of the kings of Israel? Jesus fucking Christ. These people are idiots. Verse 15. In the 27th year of Asa king of Judah, Zimri reigned in Tirzah 7 days. The army was encamped near Gibbethon, a Philistine town. When the Israelites in the camp heard that Zimri had plotted against the king and murdered him, they proclaimed Omri, the commander of the army, king of Israel, that very day in the camp. Then Omri and all the Israelites with him withdrew from Gibbethon and laid siege to Tirzah. When Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the royal palace and set the palace on fire around him. So he died because of the sins he had committed, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord and following the ways of Jeroboam and committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. As for the other events of Zimri's reign and the rebellion he carried out, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Is there not anybody in here in this section that I'm reading right now who is not an asshole? Starting with, I might add, God. I mean, seriously, is there not anybody who is not an asshole? Alright, moving on. Then the people of Israel were split into two factions. Half supported Timni, son of Ginneth, for king. The other half supported Omri, but Omri's followers proved stronger than those of Tibni, son of Ginneth. So Tibni died and Omri became king. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, Omri became king of Israel, and he reigned 12 years, 6 of them in Tirzah. He brought the hill of Samaria from Shemar for 2 talents of silver and built a city on that hill, calling it Samaria after Shemer, the name of the former owner of the hill. But Omri did evil in the eyes of the Lord, because of course he did. And sinned more than all those before him. He followed completely the ways of Jeroboam son of Nebat, committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit, so they aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Omri's reign, what he did and the things he achieved, are they not written in the annals of the kings of Israel? Omri rested with his ancestors and was buried in Samaria, and Ahab his son succeeded him as king. In the 38th year of Asa king of Judah, Ahab son of Omri became king of Israel, and he reigned in Samaria over Israel 22 years. Ahab, 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 oh, God damn it, I'm sorry. Ahab, son of Omri, did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any before him. Yeah, you've said that before. How many times are you going to say that? It's like a broken record. By the way, does anybody know what a broken record is nowadays? Excuse me. I'm sorry. He not only considered it trivial to commit the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, but he also married Jezebel, daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Baal and worship him. He set up an altar for Baal in the temple of Baal that he built in Samaria. Ahab also made an Asherah pole and did more to arouse the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, than did all the kings of Israel before him. In Ahab's time, Hiel of Bethel rebuilt Jericho. He laid its foundations at the cost of his firstborn son Abiram. Oh, great, now we get into that. I don't want this to be demonetized, so I'm not saying it. And he set up its gates at the cost of his youngest son Zegeb, in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken by Joshua son of Nun. And the last chapter, people. Thank God, because I can't handle much more of this nonsense. Now Elijah, the Tishbite from Tishbe in Gilead, said to Ahab, As the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither rain nor dew in the next few years except at my word. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah, Leave here, turn eastward, and hide in Kerith ravine east of Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. I can think of so many things wrong with that, but let's move on. This is getting too stupid even for me. So he did what the Lord had told him to do. He went to Kerith ravine east of Jordan and stayed there. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. And he got hepatitis A. I'm sorry, I just had to say that. By the way, people, hepatitis A is something you can get from water. That's why they tell you not to drink the water if you're in a foreign land. Because you can get Hep A from water. I agree, Lisa. I did too, Crypta. I remember records very well. Alrighty. So, yeah, Lisa, when did God love anybody in the Bible? That's what I want to know. All right. Verse 7. Sometime later, the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to him. Go at once to Zarephath in the region of Sidon and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food. Oh no, it can't just be, you know, it can't just be a lucid dream, can it? Or hallucination, maybe. No, no, it's got to be God. Verse 10. So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, would you bring me a little water in a jar that I may drink? As she was going to get it, he called, and bring me, please, a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar, and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. See what I mean by God hating everyone? Elijah said to her, don't be afraid. Go home and do as you said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have, and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. The jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land. So she went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. Sometime later, the woman who owned the house became ill. He he grew worse and worse and finally stopped breathing. Oh, the son of the woman, sorry. The son of the woman who owned the house became ill. He grew worse and worse and finally stopped breathing. She said to Elijah, what do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son? Give me your son, Elijah replied. He took him from her arms, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on his bed. Then he cried to the Lord, Lord, my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow I am staying with by causing her son to die? Then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times, cried out to the Lord, Lord, my God, there's let this boy's life return to him. There's a porno in there somewhere. Verse 22. The Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned to him, and he lived. Elijah picked up the child and carried him down from the room into the house. He gave him to his mother. He said, look, your son is alive. Then the woman said to Elijah, now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth. And that's the end of chapter 17. Thank God, because I couldn't handle any more of this nonsense. So, anyway, just in case you haven't seen a parallel here yet, hey, scapegoat, just in case you haven't seen a parallel here, this is where they get Jesus raising that widow's son, you know, where they're on the funeral pier and everybody's crying because the son of the widow, died. That's where they get that story. And that's probably where they also get the story of Jesus raising from the dead because, everybody's always got to outdo everybody else. Well, instead of having somebody raise somebody else from the dead, why don't we just let somebody raise themselves from the dead? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, seriously, does nobody but us see the parallels between the Old Testament and the New Testament and see that the Old Testament is just, or excuse me, the New Testament is just copying the Tanakh? Well, obviously they can because they say, well, see, this is fulfilling this, even though this isn't fulfilling this, because Jesus is mentioned nowhere in Tanakh, and Messiah doesn't even mean what Christians think it means. They have to read Tanakh, which they won't. But anyway, it just makes me fucking angry. I know, right, Lisa? And if you remember correctly, in the New Testament, not only did Jesus raise from the dead, but all the worthy ones of old, whoever the hell that was, raised with him. So there was like a zombie apocalypse in Jerusalem. There were learning men in Jerusalem. Didn't anybody really like, oh my God, this is like a thing we need to write down. This is like awesome. Maybe not awesome because of all the stink, but it'd be more like this is some fucking miracle. We really need to write this down for generations to come. Nobody thought to do that. Seriously? And you want us to believe all of this shit happened? I had an excuse because I was indoctrinated into this shit. But even I now looking back on it, I'm like, "Oh my fucking god. How did I ever fall for this shit?" Yeah. Yeah, Lisa. It says so in the New Testament. It says when Jesus raised from the dead, the old worthies raised with him. Did Was that not like unusual enough for somebody to write about it? Come on. Get with the program, people. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna go because I am cold. I'm gonna get under my covers. Um and thank you for excuse me. Thank you for joining. Please hit that thumbs up button. Please leave um a comment down below. It helps the algorithm. Um Also, I usually don't ask this, but please, if you could, donate a couple of dollars, please do so in my PayPal so I have like at least enough money to heat my home right now. because um, I am going to get a job, of course, but right now everything's like I'm in a fog. I can't really focus on anything right now. And so anyway, but anyway, if you want to become a member, you become can become a member for as little as 99 cents a month. I love you all. Thank you so much for staying with me during this difficult time. Like I said, I love you and I appreciate every single one of you. And hugs to everybody. And I'll see you guys later. I will see you tomorrow for Atheist Church. And goodbye.